Elon Musk responded to the destruction of a suspected Chinese spy balloon by a U.S. fighter plane that was flying over U.S. territory. The balloon was floating off the coast of South Carolina. The U.S. intelligence establishment noted that the countries relied on satellite technology to acquire data. On Saturday, Washington alerted China of the shootdown, calling it a clear infringement of U.S. sovereignty. In response to the devastation, Mr. Musk tweeted an answer about the U.S. shooting down an airship over the Atlantic. Tesla and SpaceX CEO published a humorous image portraying the flying home scene in the 2009 cartoon movie Up being shot down. Let's dive into it right now. Elon Musk, the billionaire behind Tesla, SpaceX, and several other creative and profitable enterprises, is well known for his outspoken statements, whether on Twitter or elsewhere. Mr. Musk's tweet with a comic image portraying the flying home scene rapidly received over 267,000 likes. Several individuals commented on the tweet with more humorous memes, while others branded the SpaceX CEO a comedian. "Very cheeky of you," at Elon Musk, one person said. "Elon is a better comic than most SNL," another person commented. Meanwhile, China has verified that the balloon seen soaring over Latin America is Chinese. Beijing has reacted angrily to Washington's decision to shoot down what it claims was an unidentified weather reconnaissance aircraft that had gone off course last week. The item was of civilian origin and utilized for flight tests, according to the country's foreign minister. It also stated that by shooting down the device, the U.S. seriously harmed and damaged ties between the two countries, and it's filed an official complaint with the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. First of all, let's find out more about the Chinese spy balloon in the U.S. What are spy balloons? A contemporary spy balloon is a piece of spying equipment, for example, a camera, suspended beneath a balloon that floats above a given area, carried by the wind currents. The equipment attached to the balloon may include radar and be solar-powered. Balloons typically operate at 24,000 to 37,000 meters, or 80,000 to 120,000 feet, well above where commercial air traffic flies. Airliners seldom fly higher than 12,000 meters. Why use spy balloons rather than satellites? For the last few decades, satellites were de rigueur. Satellites were the answer, says John Blaxland, professor of international security and intelligence studies at the Australian National University and the author of the book Revealing Secrets. But now that lasers or kinetic weapons are being invented to target satellites, there is a resurgence of interest in balloons. They don't offer the same level of persistent surveillance as satellites, but are easier to retrieve and much cheaper to launch. To send a satellite into space, you need a space launcher, a piece of equipment that typically costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Balloons can also scan more territory from a lower altitude and spend more time over a given area because they move more slowly than satellites, according to a 2009 report to the U.S. Air Force's Air Command and Staff College. When were they first used? The French are the first recorded users of reconnaissance balloons, initiated at the Battle of Fleurus against Austria and Dutch troops in 1794 during the French Revolutionary Wars. They were also used in the 1860s during the American Civil War, when Union men in hot air balloons, binoculars at the ready, would try to gather information about Confederate activities further away. They sent signals back via Morse code or a piece of paper tied to a stone, says Blaxland. The U.S. has revived the idea recently but has tended to use balloons only on U.S. territory. Over someone else's atmosphere, you're required to seek permission, Blaxland says, or if you're going to do it without permission, expect that it won't be well received. The Pentagon itself said that its short statement on Friday said that instances of this kind of balloon activity have been observed previously over the past several years. Craig Singleton, a China expert at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, told Reuters that such balloons have been widely used by the US and Soviet Union during the Cold War and were a low-cost intelligence gathering method. Why is China doing this? Blaxland thinks it's unlikely that the Chinese weren't expecting to be caught. Being caught was probably the goal, with two outcomes in mind. The first reason the balloon was launched, he believes, was to embarrass the US, and it was all the better if it captured some intelligence along the way. It's hard to think how they could have thought that it wouldn't have been detected. Civil aviation authorities so closely study American airspace, the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Space Force, the Weather Network. It's extremely scrutinized airspace, he says. The second reason is to make the U.S. aware that China has secretly kept up with its technology and replicated it. Chinese security agents are masterful at copycat behavior. They're very, very good at establishing what technology is and then seeking to replicate it, Blaxland says. It's a case of anything you can do, we can do better. And it's just the tip of the iceberg, says Blaxland. China's spying happens on an industrial scale, with tiny bits of intelligence gathered and transmitted in countless ways. Together, these form detailed pictures. Singapore-based security analyst Alexander Neil told Reuters that while the balloon was likely to provide a fresh irritant to Chinese-US ties, it was probably of limited intelligence value compared with other elements China's modernized military has at its disposal. China has its constellation of spy and military satellites that are far more important and effective in terms of watching the US. So I think it's a fair assumption that the intelligence gain is not huge, says Neil, who has an adjunct fellow at the Hawaii's Pacific Forum think tank. What can we expect in the future? There's no limit to what kind of technology you can stick at the bottom of a balloon, says Blaxland. The whole point is higher ground. Strategists and military campaigners talk about dominating the higher ground. And in this day and age, it's been space. With space now so congested and contested and now so valuable that subspace domain, the upper atmospheric domain, has developed a whole new utility and importance for the international surveillance and espionage, he says. The Pentagon has said it's tracking a Chinese spy balloon flying over the U.S., but decided against shooting it down for safety reasons. Defense officials said that the balloon had been watched since it entered U.S. airspace at a high altitude a couple of days ago. It's been monitored by several methods, including crewed aircraft, and has most recently been tracked crossing Montana, where the U.S. has silo-based nuclear missiles. As a precaution, flights from Billings-Logan Airport were suspended on Wednesday. The Chinese government has not confirmed if it owns the balloon, and the state-backed media have used the incident to taunt the U.S. The balloon itself is a big target. The state-backed nationalistic tabloid The Global Times wrote in English on Twitter, which is banned in China. If balloons from other countries could enter the continental U.S. smoothly, or even enter the skies above certain states, it only proves that the U.S.'s air defense system is completely a decoration and cannot be trusted. On Friday afternoon, China Daily said the spy balloon claims were a lie. To spy on the U.S. with a balloon, one must fall far behind the use of 1940s technology and be advanced enough to control its flight across the ocean. Those fabricating the lie are only exposing their ignorance, it said. The Pentagon said, the balloon currently traveled at an altitude well above the commercial air traffic and does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground. This kind of balloon activity has been observed over the past several years. Once the balloon was detected, the U.S. government acted immediately to protect against the collection of sensitive information. The incident comes just before the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, was expected to visit China this week to meet with President Xi Jinping. The trip has yet to be formally announced, but Beijing and Washington have been talking about his imminent arrival. Analysts have said the deal files a crucial gap in U.S. military positions in the region, enhancing its ability to monitor the South China Sea and around Taiwan. Both are significant areas for concern regarding Chinese military activities. On Thursday, the spokesperson of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs accused the U.S. of exacerbating regional tension and jeopardizing regional peace and stability with the deal. Pentagon officials say there was a high confidence that the balloon was Chinese and that Joe Biden had been briefed on the situation. The president asked for military options, but it was decided there was too great a danger of debris harming people on the ground were it to be shot down. Officials said the objects flew first over Alaska's Aleutian Islands and Canada before appearing over Billings on Wednesday. According to Pentagon authorities, the balloon soared above North America for many days before being shot down by a missile launched from an F-22 fighter jet off the coast of South Carolina. It landed in shallow water, only 47 feet or 14 meters deep. The operation was a calculated and lawful reaction to China's unacceptable infringement of our sovereignty, according to U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the U.S. move in a statement posted on Sunday morning, saying the downing of the civilian airliner was obviously overreacting and significantly breaking international practice. China also declared that the balloon observed soaring over Latin America is Chinese, and it is enraged by Washington's decision to shoot down what it claims is a weather surveillance plane that went off the tracks last week, influencing the influencer, China and Elon Musk. What is Elon Musk's connection to China? Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter threatens to change that equation between the platform and China. Already, it's sparking concern amongst Chinese users. Folks, remember to delete your phone numbers from Twitter. After acquiring Twitter, I hope Musk wouldn't sell user privacy to show his allegiance to Chinese government, a user tweeted in Chinese. Musk might be the planet's richest man. Still, he is particularly vulnerable to pressures from the world's most prominent authoritarian government, one that has been deft at manipulating or leveraging foreign businesses' access to countries to compel them to toe the Communist Party's line. Musk has significant business interests in China. The country is Tesla's second largest market, and sales in China have increased significantly in the past couple of years. Tesla's plant in Shanghai is the world's largest electric vehicle factory and the company's primary export hub. In January, Tesla opened a showroom in Xinjiang that drew criticism from members of the U.S. Congress and the rights groups because of the Chinese government's crimes against humanity targeted at the region's Uyghur and other Turkic Muslim communities. Last month, Musk suggested that Taiwan agree to be partially administered by China to resolve their tensions. The proposal was welcomed by Beijing but slammed in Taipei. All of this has renewed concerns about how Musk, who's been critical of Twitter's content moderation policies, will handle the social media platform, which is already rife with disinformation campaigns, organized trolls, and government censorship attempts. The Chinese government has repeatedly shown it cares greatly about its image outside the country. Its diplomats, state media outlets, and journalists use Twitter to disseminate government propaganda. What do you think about the Chinese spy balloon in the US and Elon Musk's tweet about it? Let us know in the comments. So, this is all from today's video. Make sure you hit that bell icon for upcoming videos. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.